an embarrassing period of time. Um, so that's really the reason uh, why we did it. And then, I had no idea whether no one would sign up because of concerns about being in the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere or many other reasons. But we got a great group, and it was, a life-changing experience.
Yeah, for me, this is something I've wanted to do forever. In college, I always wanted to join the Peace Corps. And when my kids were younger, we started a nonprofit called You Can Too. And we always had the vision that we would someday get to Africa, which is where most of our efforts were going to bring clean water. And when our kind of shit hit the fan, that was one of the pieces of, collateral damage that happened. We lost all of that. And we were really in survival mode for so long. So it was so great to be able to go back and, be able to do that after all these years. Sorry, Cass and Naya, for the shit word.
Come on, Jack. Keep it clean.
Oh,
We got kids on here.
I didn't even notice.
I think for me, my experiences as a younger person and just that time it's sort of who I am. It's sort of become who I am in terms of knowing the power of connecting with other people in the world and building friendships and just always just opening up to new ways of life and how we sort of see things a certain way and other people see things a completely different way, and yet we're all earthlings, and so it's just this way of like being together. And I don't, I have a hard time in some ways with I'm a drummer, and I have a hard time with the concept drum circle for certain reasons. And I have a hard time sometimes with the concept of mission. Not because it's somewhat semantics, but I feel like it's a giving exchange. And I feel like this is, yes, we have much more privilege and much more advantage and resources and access. But that doesn't, there's this sort of superior edge that it's like there's so much more and so much courage and so much power and so much strength that people have, and just being open to sort of finding a way to share, so that the connection can be just through love, and so for me, this is really my passion. I mean, doing that stuff like this is sort of what keeps me alive in a way.
Audra's yelling at somebody, so
I know, I was
that's
gonna
either
say, Audra's
Paul or
telling me to
Yarrow.
go to the other room. I know that move.
Okay.
Go, Audra, quiet.
All right, come to me next. Come to me next.
Okay. I'll just say about getting the chance to go. So we wanted to go from the beginning. I wanted to. I was the first outlier in the family. But we recently relocated and we're rebuilding our lives and didn't feel like we could justify the expense of taking everybody in our circumstances. Coming back, talking about our financial situation seems a little bit different. But that being said, I was tremendously gifted the opportunity to go through the Outliers. So then Paul and I reconsidered, if Mom was going to go have an adventure or if we were going to take that as a sign to take the whole family. And then Paul was going to mention that piece.
Right. So it was kind of two parts. I've always loved to travel, and so has Yarrow. And everywhere we've been has been beautiful. And my favorite part's always been kind of the people and the culture. But you always felt kind of like something was missing. Everywhere you go has the same touristy stuff. You can go zip lining anywhere in any country, and it's all the same stuff everywhere you go. And I felt like something was missing, and so I always knew in the back of my mind, a mission trip would be awesome. Like a little more purpose, go really meet the people that live there, do something to give back. And that was one part. The other part is with the family now, being Americans, and we have everything at our fingertips. And I want my girls to see how a lot of the rest of the world lives, and to see just how well we have it here, and get an appreciation for every little thing that we're kind of born into here. So it was two parts and so rewarding. So glad we got to go.
Yeah,
We are
thank you.
too.
Yeah.
I'd like the girls to say something too. Naya, Cassidy, was there a reason that you wanted to go?
I really only went because my family was going. I wanted to stay and
Okay.
go to school.
Gotcha.
That is true,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fair.
Did you want to go? Why did you want to go?
Because I liked
You liked it.
it.
Yeah. They definitely had more perspective after being there.
Yes, I got it. And Yarrow, your story I got goosebumps. So just thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the blessed one. Like Melinda said, I mean, we all got more out of it than I feel like we gave. So
Yeah, it's very common saying after these things. So absolutely. Paul, Audra, who wants to?
Audrey,
Oh,
are you
you want to
good?
go? You go for it, Paul. Go for it. Paul.
Oh, okay. Well, so I think for me, my answer kind of evolved over time. Originally, I wanted to go because I wasn't able to go to the retreat last year, and it was really important for me to meet Scott in person and connect, because he was the only mentor that I've had that I haven't met in person. And I didn't really know much about Rayo de Sol and the work that they were doing. And probably like a couple weeks in, I started doing more research and actually understanding a lot of the work that they were doing. And I realized that a lot of the values and the impact that they were creating was kind of aligned with what I was doing as well. So I love traveling internationally because, like everyone said, right, in the US, we don't really realize how much privilege and opportunity we have here, and we take a lot of things for granted. So really getting to expand my perspective, and yeah, that was why it was important for me to go.
And then for me, just like I said before, like feeling just this missing piece. And then I get connected. I get connected.
Are your kids
It was
doing
good.
crazy stuff?
Or she's been drinking.
And one of the outliers could go. All right. Oh, say hi. One of the outliers couldn't go last minute, so I was able to take his spot, and it made no sense whatsoever. Like example A, but I was like, I have to do it. I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay, we lost Audra.
Yeah, we'll see her. Meg, I didn't hear from you yet. Why did you want to go?
Yeah, for me, I mean, if I'm being honest, it's like obviously this, Scott's created this community, and of course, I mean, I was always going to go. It was definitely very out of my comfort zone. So similar to Naya and Cassidy, after going, I mean, I was very happy that this opportunity came up, and like I said, I was always going, but it was more Scott's driving force than mine. But I am so glad that I went, and it was absolutely life-changing. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Cool. Me too. I want to go next time.
Let's
Great.
let's
Yeah.
do it.
Okay, next question. What one thing or event had the most impact on you? I'm going to ask about people later. So not people, but what thing or event had the most impact on you? That thing that you cannot stop thinking about.
I got mine right here.
Yeah, man, there's a lot for me, but
The time that I spent was mostly with the young kids, mostly with the young girls. And there was a family who had 3 daughters, and one of the daughters, who was 17, came up to me at the end with an orange. I'll be crying in a second. Came up to me like this with an orange, like all she had, right? Like when we asked people, what do you need? They needed food. And she's giving me an orange. And then her little sister, we were crying and hugging and crying. And I get in the van and to leave. And she went home and she came back with this. It's a little saucer.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
This is the one that was practicing saying, Audra Esper. Audra Esper. She loved that name. So this is my constant reminder. And that was the event.
Kathy, you are such a crybaby. I actually was the official crybaby of the retreat of the expedition, as video would prove. Audra has it on video, me crying many times. I mean, for me, there was so many memorable moments, but I think when we walked into the first house, we had been there for a little while, and then it was like, Pete really wanted to take us to meet some of the people. This is outside of the school setting, and we went into a woman's home, and I was just so overcome by the unbelievable level of poverty that she was living in. One light bulb, and I mean, I think we all walked out of there with tears in our eyes. It was like unbelievably powerful. And the second one for me, I know you said one, but I'm gonna give you two.
Go for it.
Was just the kids running around and the joy that these kids had was just remarkable. So that juxtaposition between abject poverty and just happiness and joy was like pretty touching.
Oh, am I? Yeah, on the last day we were there, they had a celebration for all of us that went on this mission trip, and they had taken pictures of us the day before, saying they made up some story, but they presented all of us with certificates with our picture on it. And they did this, we were there Saturday, they did this during the day or overnight and presented it to us the next day, which is pretty incredible when you figure we were on a mountain. They have, I don't even know how they did it, but they wanted to do that. The community wanted to do that for us, and that was very special.
Is it okay if we jump in? We're gonna have to rotate to the car because that's what our life looks like. For me, I'm gonna go with an event, at least what I felt as an event. It was just the meaning of everything. When we got back on Monday, I pretty much cried all day on Tuesday. And not really sadness. I mean, I cried too. I would argue that I cried more than Scott, but I guess Audra may have the final say on that. But at least I don't think Scott cried in his interview. But just the feeling, like there's some sad moments, but just the immense feels of everything. And then the gratitude that I had from the whole experience. And when I got home and I woke up Tuesday morning, my bedroom is bigger than most of these people's houses. And I was just thinking, you know, I try to live a very intentional and grateful life, but you get caught up in whatever it is we do, you know, and every ounce of work, every meal, everything had so much meaning there. That Paul and I were talking that day, like, you know, how are we going to stay involved? What are we going to do, you know, before we can go back? And what do you feel like they need? And I was like, I don't feel like they really, I mean, yes, they need something. They're hungry sometimes, but, you know, I wanted more of what they have, really, you know, and it's a big perspective shift. So
for events, I would say the day we went up to the community, like basketball courts,
Oh yeah.
when I couldn't believe how many kids were there and how they wanted to be there. And I feel like if you tried to do something like that here in America, nobody would show up, or I guess have more negative thoughts of that. But it was so cool to see so many people show up, and they sat and paid attention to the devotions, and they played games together, and the kids and adults like had fun. I'm like, this is cool. Like, who does this? This is great. And it was just so neat to be a part of that.
like 100 kids, a lot of kids.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Lot of
And they
kids.
all sang the songs. And
Right.
it was-
And in the prayer circle, you know, like,
yes.
Oh yeah.
That was cool.
Can I do two things?
Yes, I will let you.
Okay.
Scott
Hi.
did, you can.
Okay. My favorite thing was also going to the like basketball court place thing. And I also liked when we visited the sick people's houses and we gave them the bags of like food and things that they might need.
That's cool.
Because just that bag was like a lot to them. Like that bag was $1,000 to them.
What kinds of things were in the bags? Did you-
Toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, and food like rice and beans.
Oil.
And I know you wanted to mention this, Naya, but my jump roping skills that I demonstrated, I know that was another highlight for you.
No.
So I just wanted to add that.
Oh,
She's saying no.
but no.
I'm saying it was pretty epic.
What was your favorite part? What made the biggest difference to you?
Hanging out with Audra.
You said playing with the kids. Hearing speech.
She's got dish.
Yeah.
There's other people trying to go. We're
Is-
gonna talk. When we were doing the evaluation, Cassidy said that playing with the kids and working alongside them and then hearing Spanish being spoken, that she thought it was cool to hear people speaking Spanish.
Mhm. Nice. Did you learn
Yeah.
any of it while you were there?
You didn't learn?
Okay.
Cassie was good just playing. Naya was trying to learn and has been on Duolingo since we got back.
Yeah.
Nice. Good job.
Thank you.
Very good.
follow me, Naya. I'm on there too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not
I
doing
have
too well.
I have the kids profile right now, so it's private. When I'm able to switch it, then I'll follow you and
Okay.
friend you or whatever.
Okay.
All right.
I
Yeah,
think
Amanda.
for me, one of the biggest highlights actually was seeing Naya and Cassidy interact with everyone there. I mean, it was really, that was really incredible.
Mhm.
And, Cassie would be like walking around and just, checking things out. And, Naya certainly took leadership and took on a leadership role and was face painting. That was really wonderful to see Naya face painting with kids surrounding her and just to sort of know.
Cool.
And you know.
They definitely changed and made our trip better.
100%. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 4 of them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Melinda totally took mine. Mine was like trying to run around and videotape everything. So you realize, oh, you're somewhere for too long. Now you got to switch locations so you make sure that you get everyone. And the moment that like stopped me in my tracks was when I turned the corner and I saw Naya just surrounded by like 25 kids, and she's just taking her time and face painting, and I just just like lost, because up until that point I was holding it together because I was just so excited, because I knew, like, she had told me, like, we talked on the bus for like 2 hours and she's like, I just want to be at school, whatever. And now she's here, and this moment is like something like the principal said something like, this is going to be more impactful than any time in school. And I was like, gosh, I want my kids to come here one day. I mean, obviously not that one, she's never going, but the other one will go. And then the other thing, no, she's older. But then the other thing, was two more things, super fast. One was we started each day with a devotional, which I just thought was so simple. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't anything, but it was like how to set your intention for the day. And it was like, this is the theme of the day. And my last day, it was whatever you do, like, do it with all your heart. And I just so love that, because each of us brought something different to the table. Like, for example, Paul was like amazing with power tools. I'm terrible with power tools, but I know how to video. And then Paul D gives all these teenagers like the most beautiful speech. And so it was just like everyone had something to offer. And which leads me to the third thing, which is grateful, watching the emotion that these people would protrude, but speaking to you completely in Spanish and like deadlocking you in the eyes while the translator spoke, for them. But it was almost like you didn't, like, the language barrier was down because you knew exactly what they were saying, just because you could just like feel it in their eyes, and you're just sitting there nodding and you have no idea what they're saying, but you have every idea what they're saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I get it. Very cool. Thank you. Paul.
Yeah. Oh man. Scott, my first answer was what Scott said, that first house. I still like have a hard time like getting the smell of like smoke. It seemed like that was what we smelled like in every house that we went in. But the thing that stood out for me the most was probably what Audrey was saying, getting to speak to probably about like 30 kids who were kind of around my age and I could really kind of relate to their experience of, kind of growing up, and you have dreams and all these things, but you have to kind of support your family. So just getting to be able to kind of be the person for them that I wish that I had. And I've actually made like contacts and relationships with a couple of the people from from Nicaragua, and actually did a LinkedIn live with one of them, and it was actually his first time speaking. So yeah, we did like a dual event in English and Spanish, so that people back where he's from could interact. So that was probably like a few of my biggest things.
That's really cool. Well, okay, so my next question is, tell me about a person that you met. Was there a person that you were able to connect with? And I know you were there for a short time, so it may have been hard, but maybe. Paul, what if you want to tell us?
Yeah, I think so. In terms of the actual expedition, I would say for me it was really Peter, because we were kind of laughing. I had him on Impossible Equals Impossible the day before we left. So there were a lot of things that I learned about him that I didn't know. Like, he's been in Nicaragua longer than I've been alive. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Because I there, like Scott was saying, there was kind of a lot of hesitation from people. I know, especially from my family, like a lot of people were like, oh, be safe, and all these type of things. So the fact that I didn't realize he's been there, for so long, and he talked a lot about the culture and a lot of things. So I felt like I kind of went in a little bit more comfortable than I probably would have been had I not known that. But then the entire time, like every day, I would always just make sure, get to ride with Peter and, pick his brain, show him gratitude for everything that he did, because we really did have a full experience. I think the hardest thing for me personally was just it was almost like kind of a two worlds type of thing, right? Like the things that we saw, but the way that we lived was like different. So getting to kind of talk with him a lot, because that was one of the things that he had told me on Impossible Equals Impossible, was like, be prepared for this reverse culture shock. And I had never kind of really experienced the reverse part before. So I would say Peter for me. We've gotten really close since the trip.
So there were a bunch for me. Some were staff members. But you know, there was a little girl who she was kind of like trying to have a kind of a tough exterior, and we were making a paper mache um frog. And anyway, I was doing, like, they were making fun of me, and I was goofing around with them. And she got more comfortable and she was smiling, and it was just so cool to see that connection. And then I don't know if it was later in the day or maybe it was the next day, she came up to me, gave me a hug, and it seemed like it would have been out of character the day before or hours before. But just realizing that you could make that connection even though we couldn't communicate, through language. uh I don't know, it's just really cool. And I was gonna say, but Paul stole it. Strangely enough, Peter, for me, who I've known for 40 years, but I know him as like my teammate from football. Like, I still think we're 18 or 17 or whatever. To see the man that he is and to see the leader that he is, and to see the respect that he garners was like, whew, mind blowing, to me. So definitely brought us closer together.
Felt like I connected with a couple of the staff people, and I'm trying to think, I don't remember the woman's name actually, but teacher that was there.
It was Maria.
Yeah. And also a couple of the kids that, just painting and being next to them. And yeah, Maria Jose, yeah, that's right.
What was it about Maria?
I think being an educator, I mean, I've been an educator, and just sort of knowing what she's kind of feeling about wanting to give to the students. And we sort of, I think, just had a friendship, that changed Facebook, and just, respecting what she's doing. And I think one thing that kind of just touched my heart, somehow, really deeply. Elders are something that are people that are so important to me. And when we went into the woman's house, that the elderly woman that had just very, very, very little and was so fragile, and wasn't really aware of kind of what was going on, it seemed like, and had leaking roof and dirt floor, and just was by herself. It just felt very alone. That has continued to just impacted me in a big way. So
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for me, it was the little girls. I tried to remember their names and get their names, but I was I had a fever. I couldn't remember anything. But I used to teach first grade with, Melinda and I taught at the same school, and So as a first grade teacher, I loved that job. I loved that part of my life. And so I loved being in that role again with just these little ones, just so open, wanting to learn, wanting to love and hug and just smile. All we had to do was smile at each other. And it was very, 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 very powerful, those little ones.
Agreed.
Meg gives a ditto.
Yeah, completely the
Yeah.
same. And
I mean, it just reminds you how we all start out the same. Like they're the same as my kids when they were 7, and and how life and circumstances can have the impact that it does. And one of the things that I really liked to do was, as I was sitting there with the little swarm of girls, I'd look over my shoulder and there would be a group of 12-year-old boys who were too cool to come over and talk, but they were listening to every word as I was teaching the girls English, and they wanted to do that, but they were too embarrassed or whatever. So I would draw them in, or the teenage girls that didn't want to ask to have their face painted, but they couldn't wait to have their face painted. And so that was really, really beautiful for me.
Audra, your family.
So I feel like Peter partially. I had talked to him many times just from being outliers and just talked about life and challenges and perspectives and all kinds of stuff. But being there, like has already been said, being there and seeing his impact and the work that he does and what he's dedicated his life to was the closest thing to God's work in action that I've been witness to. And that was tremendous. I definitely have a different more appreciation for who he is as a person and what he's doing. His staff was amazing. Kenner was cool. I don't have very much Spanish, so that was kind of a bummer in regard to building relationships with the Spanish-speaking community. But the beauty of just being there with people for 3 days who were working alongside me, it's amazing how far you can get with charades. So we did a lot of that. But the very last day after I guess it was the last day after the celebration and the certificate award ceremony and stuff, and we were leaving, I hugged people. I'm a hugger. Like, I just go in and stay in those hugs. But there was a couple young women who hugged me who I hadn't even really interacted with while we were there. But I mean, they just stayed there and we cried and we hugged, and there's just a connection with people beyond, we hadn't talked for 3 days, but we were there, and that was awesome.
Sorry, I'm driving, so
You don't have to look at us.
you do not. Yeah,
Okay.
don't.
Look at the road.
Yeah. I'm gonna mess up his name. It was either Manuel or Miguel. He was helping me in the school work on the furniture, and he knew a little bit of English, and I knew a little bit of Spanish, so we were teaching each other words as we would work on the table and learn what the tools were called. But what was cool, kind of like everyone's saying, there's that underlying connection. I mean, you could just feel we both were there. He's there to help his community. And it was just such a cool feeling and such good people. And I think we had a lot in common. We both liked music and singing and playing guitar, and talked about that a little bit, and working on the furniture. So it was he was probably my most memorable connection from that trip.
Mine was this girl named Stephanie. We met at the basketball court place. She wanted to learn English and I wanted to learn Spanish. So we kind of connected on that, and then we started playing together. But yeah, we were the same age and we both wanted to learn each other's languages. So I thought that was really cool and fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That I made friends.
You did make a lot of friends.
A lot of friends.
Straight on.
Okay. Am I
You're
up?
up, Audra.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So besides Kathy's girl, who, and Peter's trying to get her name for me because like, just like Scott had, we were doing origami together and I couldn't tell if they were laughing at me or with me, but like it was with me because they thought it was funny. And now just her face, I have to have like a million selfies of her and I still have, I have the origami on my, the origami they gave me on my, look at me, I'm Euro, on my bathroom. Every morning is just like a great reminder. But the I would say the number one person that I've probably taken with me literally is the staff member. Her name is Magdiel. I'm sure you guys all remember her with the glasses. She was just a Swiss Army knife. Like she did everything
Yeah.
for this program, and she was an admin and she was a teacher, but she's like the most amazing, enthusiastic teacher. Then she's doing Young Life, and then she's doing all the program stuff. So I kept going up to her, my broken Spanish, like not like hitting her, but like hitting her heart and being like, your heart, my broken Spanish, your heart is like irreplaceable. You've got it. Like keep going. And so then she wanted to learn more about videography. So we started following each other on Instagram, and her Instagram's like amazing. So then when we got home, Peter introduced me to Leslie Long, who's like his main person here in the US in Georgia. And then we had Victoria Walling, who's another outlier, like myself, who is just sort of like, she has this marketing skills. They can't hire her. But anyway, so then we created the Route to Soul communications team. 2 out of the 3 of us are outliers, just like volunteer. So we just had our literally 3rd meeting like 2 days ago. And I was like, why don't we bring Magdiel in to the WhatsApp chat and then use Rosanna when there's like a Zoom, and we'll teach her. We can teach her remotely. And then she loved that idea because she wants to get even more involved. So anyway, so now she's on the chat and we're all chatting. We're all using Google Translate to talk, which is so funny because it's broken, but you can more or less get what the other person's saying. And yeah, she's going to be like their new videographer. And I'm like, yes, that's so amazing. So now it's just like we talk all the time. It's so amazing.
That is so cool.
That is really cool.
Can I mention one other person? Because I think it'll make everybody smile. There was a kid, Michael, who was in a wheelchair.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh,
Severely disabled. He probably hadn't seen the light of day in God knows how long. But it was amazing when you would talk to him and you would think there's no way he would first of all, we don't even speak the same language. And because of his severe disabilities, we're like, there's no way he's even gonna
Respond.
have any sort of reaction. But whether it was holding his hand, which makes me want to get emotional, or just saying something to him. I mean, this kid, and everyone that saw him knows this, it would light up like a Christmas tree. It was unbelievable. So he had a huge impact on me. And yeah, that kid was amazing.
Agreed. Thank you guys for sharing that. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Are
wish we
we
had
ending
pictures
at
we
6:30?
could show.
Oh, that'd be fun too. Yeah. Are we ending at 6:30?
We need to end at 6:30. And
Okay.
Audra's got, well, we do have, actually, I can share our photos on Mighty Network so that people can see some of the images, and now you'll have a better understanding of what they are. Because a lot of what we've talked about are in those pictures, and Audra's already put together some ridiculously good videos for us. And I actually need to connect with you, Audra, so that I can get them in order and make sure I have the right ones. But we do have some really nice collections that she put together so you can see it in action.
I think Isabel posted one of the videos because I saw the one of Naya doing the face painting.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn. So I have
there's
seen
a
at least
bunch.
one. But...
They're all on Instagram. I think on the Outlier page. For the most part, I think they're all there. But yeah,
Except for Paul's speech. I don't think that one's up yet. I'm like dying for everyone to see
Okay.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That one's the longest one.
the group that went was what an incredible group and what a bond that we all formed. And it felt like family, and it was
That's great.
such an intimate experience to go through together. And so there were 12 of us. Next year we're going to take 20. And for those who are thinking about it, talk to other people offline if it's something you're interested in. I don't know, the most impactful thing I've ever done in my life,
Me too.
easily.
I was wondering, Scott, Julie, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure who's in the
Kate.
New York Association of Training and Employment. Who?
Kate.
Kate.
Okay.
From Buffalo.
Katie, sorry. Like, I don't know you yet. But I was wondering if you guys had any questions for the group. Anything from all of this that's been, go ahead, Scott.
So you've had this experience. Now what? I guess is the question on my mind. Like, what do you want to do with this knowledge, this experience here at home?
You hit my last question. Thanks.
I think for me, it's like mindset. It's just, I said it in my video in between sobs. Our word of the year is purpose. And I think I know what it means, but I went there and I kind of got a different definition. And it just puts things in perspective. So every day, I mean, I hope it makes me better in every aspect of my life because I see things through a different lens. Just from 5 days, 4 days, whatever it was. It seemed like an eternity. And I think I'm speaking for everybody. Like we left and we were like, man, when can we go back? Everyone was like, when can we go back? Like, is tomorrow too soon?
I think Yarrow and Paul was ready to
Yeah.
move there.
Yeah. Yarrow, I think, was staking out
Move,
properties.
Cass and I were like, we could just stay here.
Yeah, it's made me reevaluate everything. I came back thinking I don't need a whole lot. I don't need a whole lot of what I have. I don't need any more. I was really, I was doing some good consuming, but not anymore. And it's actually made me make a huge decision about renting my house out and making some big changes, either moving or I'm not sure yet. The plans haven't all come together, but some big changes are happening for me.
Kathy's going to be living in my barn.
Well, as you know, I've got this travel business now, and I'm building something that I'm calling With Heart Travel, and connecting it with my learning center that's a not-for-profit. And I'm really inspired to run groups there, and I'd love to maybe collaborate with the Outlier Project on that or something. I don't know, but I'm definitely, I brought to Guatemala and others, and friends and whoever else wants to go. But I'd like to put some money into maybe the housing project that Peter's possibly starting, and invest through my learning center to take part. And building schools and kind of in that way actually has been a lifetime dream of mine. That's why I got into teaching, to be able to teach around the world. So I'm hoping this just sort of continues. And I need some collaborativeness though. So I have these ideas, and I will admit I need some people to kind of help continue to bake it or put the seasonings on it or whatever it's called. But yeah, keep it going.
Okay. Yeah, as far as Rayo de Sol specifically, we're talking to Pete, and when he comes back to the States, we'll host something here. Again, just to get the word out. And we did it last October. The turnout wasn't great. So we really have to work on, making sure that people do come, and we can just, as Pete, having Pete just speak to what he is doing in those communities and how he's helping those families. And we were there last October, so we didn't experience it firsthand. So now we'll know,
Now I'll get
we'll
a
know.
cry in front of a bigger
Yeah.
audience.
So yeah, so we're trying to get that together so that we can, like, again, get the word out specifically for Rayo de Sol. So that is coming up in the
Yep.
fall. Yeah.
For me, like I said, I just sort of forced myself upon them, and now it's like awkward if they make me leave. But now that like we're on the Rayo communications team, so we're meeting once a month, just from here on out, and then like they'll give. So for example, it's like Earth Day in April, whatever. We're gonna focus on sustainable practices that they do that help the environment, as well as like infrastructure of the school, focusing on how they train the teachers and how the teachers train, teach, and very, very interesting. And then maybe we're gonna do the focus is on mothers. It's Mother's Day and all that, and then just working with Magdiel, because it's the craziest thing. Because of the government, you are not allowed to bring camera equipment into the country. So Peter literally called me on WhatsApp, and he's like, "Please don't bring anything." And I was like, "No, it's fine. I'm just going to bring a stabilizer." He's like, "No, the government will like stop you and you won't be able to." So trying to capture video and basic things that we just take for granted. Anyway, so I'm going to help them, and the goal being to get it in front of as many Americans as possible, because you just, anyway, that's my goal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I was on the experience, one of the things that my mentor always said is like, who loses if you don't win? And I think my biggest takeaway from the entire trip was actually seeing the faces of the people who kind of lose if you don't win. So since I've gotten back, it's been a lot of connecting, like putting Pete in touch with, I think, over a handful of my connections on LinkedIn to get him exposure and get him like speaking opportunities, because I feel like that was one of the things that he felt like he needed. And also just elevating some of the people that I met through Nicaragua. Like I did the LinkedIn Live with Kenner, and it was pretty cool because I think it was like the first time that I've ever seen anything on LinkedIn that was like multilingual. So I watch it back and learn a little bit of Spanish every day to like pick stuff up. But for me personally, the big give back was I wanted to send at least like 100 kind of kids to school by the end of the year. So I was doing the math, and I think it was like I think the way Pete has it's like $15 for like one kid. So it'd be like 1,500 for the end of the year. So that's one of the things that I wrote down on my list. And just we all kind of decided, right, that this is going to be a yearly tradition. So I would say that's kind of what happened after, is that this isn't a one and done type of thing. It's something that a lot of us are probably going to be doing every year.
Awesome. Yeah, seriously, Scott, that was my last question. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber.
It was perfect.
And both. And scene.
Oh, you guys, I am so excited to hear the stories. Thank you for sharing them. I'm glad we were able to get this together so you guys could share them. I hope this was helpful, just having an hour to be able to tell people about what happened and what you got to see and do. So thank you. And thanks for going.
Thank you.
So cool.
Thank you for keeping us on track and asking great questions. And this was it was cool because it brought back a lot of memories that, brought back a lot of emotion and those feelings, because you get back into life. And it's cool to do that. And yes, we, if anyone is wondering, we are going to do it every year. We're going to do it at the same time. We're not going to mix it up, which is my initial intention, was to do different places, different countries, different organizations, maybe even, but we're not going to do that. I think there's a lot of benefit in going back and continuing to support Peter and really getting to know his staff and how we can help with a focused effort. So and there's just a comfort level now. There was, a lot of concern on safety and things like that. And, I guess only speaking for myself and Meg, those fears were very quickly quelled, and we're like, oh, this is like, having gone through it now, I feel very, very comfortable going back.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And the people that you guys met this year are going to be so stinking excited to see you next year.
Yeah.
Like that is going to be huge for them. So
And
that's
for
cool.
us, I mean, I can't wait.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, thank you guys. Have a great
Thank you
night.
guys.
Amber, I'd love
Thank you. This was so nice.
to check in with you at some point. I can get your info from Kathy, but I'd love to learn more about you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Love
Have a
talking about
wonderful
it.
night.
Bye, everyone.
Great
Great to see
seeing
you.
you guys.
Check
Audra,
in.
See you
thanks for, I know
tomorrow,
it's tough when you got
Great to see
kids
you all.
crawling up your back.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Thank you so much, Amber. Thanks,
All
guys.
right. It was great
See you
meeting you
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Great to meet you. Bye.
Bye.